This is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
And now, Bob Cordaro.
Great, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Bob Cordaro, and this is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV. I'm a native of this region, born, raised, and returned twice. As many of you know, I do radio 5 days a week, 9 a.m. to noon on WILK. Appointment radio, we call it. And now we do this thing, the Bob Cordaro Show on TV, each and every week at 11:30 a.m. here on WNEP TV 16. This show is devoted to the greatness of our area, northeastern and central Pennsylvania. So we accentuate the positive here, talking to people who make this area great. We don't tell each other that fact often enough. We also talk to people who have or want connections to this area. Is it cheerleading? Yes, and we need more of it. In our health segment today, Dr. Bryan Frantz will continue our discussion of dental implants, a critical solution for so many in this area of oral health. One that all of us should and could be aware of after we talk to Bryan. Open wide. Then our Power Brunch Player of the Week is Matt Guedes, who is head of Camp Freedom, the beautiful acreage and facilities devoted to the rehabilitation and restoration of people, namely traumatized veterans and first responders, along with Gold Star families. It is a remarkable place. It's amazing that it even exists, let alone right here in our area. So Camp Freedom is on the menu, and Matt will tell us all about it. So with the help of God, our families, and each other, let us begin.
Dr. Bryan Frantz is an internationally recognized periodontist. He heads a multi-specialty dental practice in Dunmore and has consulted, lectured, and taught around the world in his chosen field.
Well, last week we talked with Dr. Bryan Frantz about implants. What are they? Dental implants have really emerging as a real solution for a lot of people. And Dr. Frantz, welcome once again.
Good morning, Bob. Always good to be here with you. Enjoy it.
All right. So last week we talked about what they are.
Yeah.
Now you've got a couple of examples for us to bring it to another level.
Okay.
So explain to us when they're used, how, all of that.
Yep. So, Bob, oftentimes patients present to us that they've lost a tooth, several teeth, or even a full arch of teeth, both top and bottom. The effects of something like that, of missing teeth, are quite devastating. Actually, can be from a self-esteem point of view, functional point of view, cosmetic point of view. And so these patients are looking for solutions that will return them to, a normal state of feeling good functionally and aesthetically. And so implants can offer some pretty significant advantages for patients. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, implants will replace teeth in a non-removable way. They're long-lasting. They can be done very aesthetically. They provide stability for removable devices so patients can function comfortably. Mm-hmm. So lots of advantages there for them. And they've really evolved, as you alluded to in your opening remarks. They've evolved over the last 10 to 15 years quite remarkably. I did bring a couple of examples just to illustrate. So in this model, what we're looking at is an implant that is the sort of the gum and bone have been cut away, and you can see the implant is positioned in the bone. And in this particular case, the patient had lost a tooth, mm-hmm. an implant was inserted, and ultimately a new tooth was attached to the implant. So the implant has three parts. It's the actual body in the bone. There's a metal piece, it's called an abutment, and then a crown that is ultimately attached to that abutment. Mm-hmm. So it's a three-piece system. In this case, the advantage for the patient is they don't have to alter the adjacent teeth. Typically, years ago, they would have to do a bridge where the teeth on either side would have to be filed down irreversibly involving their structure, right? And so the implant allows this to happen in a way that's in a minimally invasive way for the patient. Again, permanent, not removable, comfortable, feels like a normal tooth.
You've brought something else along, I see, doctor.
Yeah, and in this example, Bob, the patient has lost all of their teeth. And sometimes patients, they can't get used to a denture. They can't tolerate the palate. They lose their taste. And so they're looking for something to give them stability and to restore their smile. So the example that I have here is a patient who's lost all of their upper teeth. Okay? And we've played, in this model, there's been 4 implants placed. And all of this is supporting a full arch of teeth, and in this case, not removable. So the patient is able to restore their dentition with just 4 implants. They didn't need to have 10 or 12 implants.
And as opposed to dentures.
Right.
I mean, what a great
tremendous
long-term solution.
Right. Again, providing stability. They look very aesthetic. You don't have the palate to deal with, so their taste, their function is completely restored. And these and there's lots of options. It's not that you would for example, we do a lot of cases where we place the implants and the teeth are removable, so the patient can take them in and off to clean them and do that sort of thing. So lots of options for our patients today. And with any of this work, Bob, it requires careful planning. And the nice thing today in dentistry is we have lots of tools available. And so for our team, in our office, we have a multi-specialty group. And my daughter's a prosthodontist. I'm the surgeon. I do the periodontal work. And so we collaborate together, plan the case. We place the implants, we design the teeth, and we actually create the teeth right in the office. So it's a really nice workflow. So I would like to.
I want to get into the planning next week because this is a complicated subject and it's really relevant to so many. I appreciate it, Dr. Frantz.
My pleasure, Bob. Thanks for having me.
And now, the Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week on the Bob Cordaro Show.
There's a marvelous place just north of Carbondale. It's called Camp Freedom. And it's designed to be a restorative for traumatized soldiers, first responders, and Gold Star families. Well over 2,000 acres. And we've got the man that runs the show up there, Matt Guedes, to talk about this incredible asset we have in Northeast Pennsylvania. I've known about it for quite a while.
Sure.
I always just have to pinch myself that we have it here. But let's start from the beginning. Tell us the mission of Camp Freedom.
Sure. So really the mission, the start point was outdoor adventures for disabled veterans, disabled first responders, their family members, and Gold Star families. That was where we started. And we really thought in the beginning days that it was about the outdoor adventure. What we soon realized is it's really the relationships. It's the peer-to-peer interaction. It's the camaraderie combined with an outdoor adventure that really brings healing. And literally we see lives saved on a regular basis because of that mission, because of that focus.
It's just, how did you come up with the concept?
Yeah. Our founder, Bill and Laura Bockenberg, bought this property with the intent of giving access to individuals with disabilities because they recognized people didn't have access into the outdoors. So that was where their start point was. And then when we came on board, before it started, talking about this, building it out, we really recognized that our true American heroes, veterans, first responders, were truly underserved in anything other than traditional medicine, traditional care. And so what we wanted to do is give them an opportunity to experience the outdoors in a manner that would help them rediscover hope and purpose and mission again. Mm-hmm. Because once you find that, you'll find your way back to a right life, to a life that is purposeful again, that has meaning, that has hope again.
What kind of time do they spend there? These people, they're traumatized, physically, emotionally,
Sure.
you name it.
Sure.
What kind of time do they spend up
We
there?
do everything from single day events that are exposure events where people are there for one day and simply they get to know us, we get to know them, and we see if there's a fit, if we're the right fit for what they need. And then we do extended stay events, extended stay visits where people will come for 4 and 5 days at a time, and where the impact is obviously greater because of time spent. And then everything in between. We have people who come daily. We have people who come weekly. We have people who come monthly. And so it's really, everything is customized to the need of the individual. We are truly about putting the individual first, and whatever their need is going to dictate what we do and how we react to that.
So this experience that they're having at Camp Freedom is so profound that in a few days, it can help them start to turn their life around, start to gather up to face the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Well, think about it. We know this is a reality. If somebody's signing up, volunteering to run towards danger, whether it's as a first responder, whether it's as, being in the military, in any branch in the military, if you're volunteering to do that, you're in all likeliness an honorable individual. You want to serve, you want to give. And so these men and women started their adventure, whether it's in the military or as a first responder, with honorable intent, with honorable purpose and desire in their life. And then life hits, trauma hits, transition even hits, which wasn't even on my radar, frankly, about the transitional process when you stop doing those things. And all of a sudden life gets a little confusing.
On that point, they talk about missing the camaraderie,
Absolutely.
the team function, and now you're just sort of an individual out there, and takes some getting used to.
Yeah, because you've been trained, you've been taught, you've lived your lifestyle in such a way that you always had a team, and you were always moving towards danger. Really, whether it's daily going into a fire, whether it's as a law enforcement officer dealing with things that you really have no control over, you're rushing into dangerous scenarios, or in the military. And it's not even just in combat. It's just being in the military. You have signed your name on a dotted line that says, I am willing to do this. But it's all built in teams. And so life was always experienced in teams. Now, all of a sudden, you move back to your home or you move somewhere in the country, you don't have that affiliation to a team anymore. You
may have a disability on top of that.
Yes. And all of a sudden you're alone. And what do we do when we feel alone? We do the opposite of what we really need. We isolate more. Not always knowingly, but it's what we tend to do. So you have isolation, often drugs and alcohol enter the picture. And then from there, it's just disaster that's coming. And it looks different in everybody's life, but that's the pattern that we're generally stepping in and trying to break, is that pattern of isolation, drugs and alcohol, and desperation. And if we can intervene with something as simple as an outdoor adventure, but sharing it in a relational way, it changes people's lives. I have people tell me all the time, how can a hunt change somebody's life? And it's not the hunt. It's how we do the hunt. It's the hunt combined with relationships that they're already looking for, that we're already looking for, frankly. And it's that camaraderie that we all had when we served.
And so, another part of it is they've seen they could do something that maybe they thought they could not do. So they start to see, I guess, that they're not foreclosed from very much.
Right.
Given their condition or their injury or the emotional trauma, whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you have a physical injury or when you have a mental injury, either way, what happens is you enter a battle. You enter a new battle in your life. And although you've overcome all these incredible things in your life, although you've run through all these doors, in your life, all of a sudden, this feels like you can't overcome that. It feels like it's too much. And part of the reason it feels that way is because you're isolated again. It's just you. You're not with your team anymore. You might start with your team, but eventually you go home. You go away from that team gathering. And then that's where, the whole psyche, the mind, all of that comes into play. And when we think wrong, we often take wrong actions. And so it's really a reset. Camp Freedom is a reset. Whether it's physical, whether it's mental, no matter what the battle is, it's an opportunity to reset how you think. And again, if we live without purpose, if you and I live without purpose, we're going to be all over the place. But when you have a purpose, it keeps you laser focused on what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, most importantly. And we help them answer the why in their lives. Not the why we want, but the why that they need in order to keep going.
So how many have you served so far?
Yeah, in just over.
By the way, you're open. Yeah.
In just over 5 years. So we opened in 2018, January 1st. So in just over 5 years, we've served over 5,800 guests on the ground right here in Northeast Pennsylvania, from 40 states during that time. Now, the majority, because of day-to-day operations, is 85% of the people who come and visit Camp Freedom are from the Northeast portion of the United States. And predominantly Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. But we've been able to serve all those guests in many different ways, in many different fashions. But the end result seems to be very similar in everybody's case, is they leave encouraged, they leave built up. And what we do is the outdoor activity we do, we make sure that they can repeat it anywhere.
Yeah.
Because if it's just at Camp Freedom, now it's a one-off. It's a single event. We want these men and women, these true American heroes, to be able to do what we do anywhere they go. So we kind of give them a skill set, help them discover something new, and then enable them to go do that anywhere. And hopefully do it with their family. Because if you get the family engaged, now the victory seems to be even quicker. The win seems to be even quicker because that family went through the same trauma that the service member or the first responder went through, but from a completely different perspective. So the family is also traumatized in the scenario that their family member went through. And the family is often overlooked.
So these 5,800 people have come through. Each one of them has been helped to some degree.
Sure.
So it's made a major impact, Camp Freedom has, and is designed to do even more. You're growing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, last year alone, we had over 2,100 guests. So every year we have grown, and you know, that's a catch-22. Metrics are important. You know that. I know that. However, the only metric that ultimately matters is the impact made to that individual. You know, yes, we want to serve more people. Yes, but if we can't do it with excellence, I'm not going to just run a number for the sake of a number. We're going to care with excellence to the maximum number of people that we can serve. And that's what we've been doing each year. But in a nonprofit space, it's a little tricky, you know, because let's just face it, money has not always been managed well in nonprofit space. Personnel has not always been managed well. And that's not a knock on other organizations. There's tons of great organizations doing great things. But you have to make sure you're managing that well. And so it means usually limited staff, which we only have 8 staff members to manage all that acreage, all the equipment, everything we have to do. And we should have 30, but you can't. And so we had over 10,000 hours of volunteer hours last year served on our ground by great individuals who come and they serve and they give, some weekly, some daily, some monthly, some one time a year. But they all come and contribute, which is the only way we can make happen what happens on Camp Freedom. It's those volunteers that give their time and their service.
Well, give me an idea of this volunteer base, because this is an important component of what you're sort of asking the public for.
Oh, yeah. So our volunteer base is really everybody's eligible. That's the first thing I want to say. People will say, well, I don't have this skill set or I don't have that ability. Here's the thing. From trimming a trail back to operating a huge excavator, we need it all and everything in between. So from cleaning the lodge or helping there, you know, to literally taking clippers and trimming back a trail, to raking, to mowing, to doing all kinds of outdoor activities, to doing indoor activities, to just being there and helping us, you know, log people in. It's everything. We can use everybody and anybody with any skill set. You can serve at Camp Freedom.
Any day, any time.
We're open Monday through Fridays, every week from 8 to 4. And then on weekends when we have events. So, I mean, we need people all the time.
I can't imagine a more, I guess, robust volunteerism. I mean, you know you're getting something. You see who you're helping directly. You work with who you're helping.
Yeah. And that's the thing that our volunteers love. Our volunteers, our donors, and our sponsors, they all love it. What they love is that they can see firsthand real results because they're partnering in literally changing lives. So you might come there and trim back a trail and you're thinking, oh, what does this matter? I'm just trimming back a trail. That's a trail that our true American heroes are going to walk on as part of their healing process. So you literally become a partner in the care of those individuals. And so it's very meaningful.
Amazing. So what would a typical visit by a disabled veteran or a disabled a first responder or a Gold Star family, what would a typical event be that you would set up for them?
When people come as an individual, let's just say this man or this woman decided to come to camp, they want to check it out. We usually start with just a tour. We tour the property, we tour what we do, we give them an overview, and they're getting to know us, we're getting to know them, because at the end of the day, it comes down to trust. If they're going to trust us to provide care for them, it has to start with that trust in the relationship. And so we start very general with an overview. Usually I see often in that first hour of time together, they know, we know, and then we're able to design that plan for them that's individualized. You know, they might like hiking. They might be a hiker. We tell them, here's how you can utilize hiking on our property with our personnel in order to help you on your life's journey. Or maybe they like archery shooting. You know, well, we just are going to have this year, we're going to have a completely wheelchair accessible 3D archery range that they'll be able to utilize regularly, and they'll do it with somebody because maybe they're isolated, maybe not by their own choice of isolation. Maybe they don't have family. Maybe they're alone here. Maybe they moved into the area. They don't know anybody. So we provide those relationships for them while they're doing something they love to do. And so we find out who they are, because they're the focus. Yeah. Camp Freedom's not the focus. We're just there to serve. So the focus is the individual, and we have to discover how we can help them. So it starts with that discovery period, and then from there, we literally design a customized plan.
So you need more than volunteers.
Sure.
You need financial resources.
Sure.
I mean, you've got to pay for utilities. You've got to pay for gas. You've got to pay for equipment, right. The equipment they use and all the equipment you use to keep the property up. So volunteers are critical. What about financial?
Yeah, volunteers, financial is always huge. You know, on our website, campfreedompa.org, we have an opportunity for a $9.99 a month donation. Something that's not going to break the bank for somebody, but something where they can become a part of it. They can contribute, and it matters. Every dollar matters. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I'm most proud of our organization, our team, our personnel, our board of trustees, is we are diligent in the management of our money. You know, we brought in $1.2 million last year, and we did so at an administrative rate of 5.3%. So 94, yeah, it is. 94.7% of every dollar is going directly to the mission. And again, that's a metric that matters. That's a number that really matters. So people can know when they contribute to Camp Freedom, it's going to the right places. The other thing is material items. Sometimes people don't have financial resources. They don't have extra, but they have relationships with companies, with organizations where material items can be donated. And that helps us too, because that's a cost then we don't have to spend, an expenditure we don't have to take in order to cover whatever that need is.
And you've had people volunteer to do construction for you.
Oh, yeah. We have. I mean, we're in the middle of some crazy, beautiful builds right now. Yeah. We're building a new ag building. We're about to start building as soon as we're permitted. We're going to be building a brand new event and education center where we're teaming up with a local college, Keystone College. We're teaming up with them, and we're going to offer post 9/11 GI Bill eligible certificate courses that are attractive to our men and women who served in the military, outdoor-oriented, hunting and fishing and guiding and videography and photography, things that they can utilize and turn into a career if they want to. So we're building that, and we have people who come and donate all the time. Great partners, great people who come alongside of us. You know, companies like Grim Construction. I can't tell you the amount of hours the personnel from Grim Construction has spent on Camp Freedom, donated hours. Incredible what they've done. Home Depot, Home Depot Dixon City has been tremendous in the amount of volunteers that they bring, over 100 at a time sometimes, and donating all of that and the material items for the projects that they take on. So we've had partners, and many of them, that's just a couple that instantly rush to my mind because of the impact that they have.
It's, I get tears in my eyes thinking about it. It's truly inspirational. I mean, this is a This is a place, and you're headed towards vocational success on top of restorative mental wellness. Yeah. That's a big mission.
Well, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because again, if we look at the suicide rates, which we always hear 22 a day, and the reality is it's never been 22 a day. It's 22 a day the way it's defined, which is very narrow.
Yeah.
And so we have all these great men and women coming to a point of hopelessness where they feel like that's their only answer, where they believe, frankly, that that's their only answer. And something as simple as a job they love will reset that course. And so I see the vocational aspect as just as important as everything else we're doing, because if you put these men and women into a career choice, into a career path, into a job that they love, all of a sudden suicide's off of the table.
Yeah.
It really is. So it's just another step in our growth.
You have volunteers who have been through the program. And I guess staff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really, that's kind of a pattern. Again, we didn't know. But what happens is we have people volunteer. They often or they come as a guest. They turn into a volunteer. From a volunteer, several have turned into employees. And then the objective, though, is to get them back into their vocational field, their interest. So we kind of help that whole process to enable them to be free again in their life pursuit and what they're looking for. And we've had that happen. We're blessed to see that happen over and over and over again.
In the few seconds we have left, why don't you let the audience know, just give us your final plea and information about Camp Freedom.
There are really a ton of great organizations out there doing good things. But what I know about Camp Freedom is that when you partner with us, whether it's financially, material, items, or volunteering, you are literally partnering in helping change the course, the life of true American heroes, veterans, first responders, Gold Star families. And you are going to partner with them in really helping them reestablish life itself. So you can know that your impact will be huge, because the impact at Camp Freedom is huge every day. We need your support, because the only way to grow is when you grow your resources. And unfortunately, it's fortunate that we're there, but unfortunately, the number and the amount of help that's needed it's growing, Bob. It's growing every day.
Camp Freedom. Matt Guedes, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
We will talk more on this subject.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week on the Bob Cordaro Show. Join us every week for the Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week.
I'll tell you, I enjoyed the show today. I hope you did too. Between Dr. Frantz and Camp Freedom, which is an inspiration to me every time I think about it. We're going to keep featuring it. It's an amazing place. Look into it. Look into it, please. That's it for this week. We'll look forward to seeing you again on WNEP TV, 11:30 a.m. every Sunday, the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
Thanks for being part of the program. You've got an appointment every Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WNEP TV, the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.